Hello, my name is Roberto Garcia, and with me today is John Becker. And welcome to this collaborative international business pedagogy session on combining theory with real world experience in the classroom. Here's a short outline of what we will cover today. We will introduce our partnership and what we're about to do here. We'll explain the context, the problem, and the approach that we were taking to our collaboration. We'll tell you who we are and a little bit about our backgrounds. We'll tell you about the class in which we collaborated in, and then some feedback that we received from the students. And finally, we will leave you with some recommendations in case you would like to try something similar in your teaching. So what is this session about? It's actually a collaboration between John and me, where we partnered we partnered as an approach to delivering a class. Okay, what we're going to cover here is just one type of partnership, and what we believe is that what we're going to cover here can be applied in a number of ways, in a number of settings. So think about a collaboration between two instructors, and this collaboration could happen for an undergraduate class, it could happen for an MBA class, for at different levels, undergrad, graduate students, as well as various content areas. In our case, it just happened to be Introduction to International Business, but this would work well in other areas too. One thing we'll say up front is that the personality of the participants and their comfort level with collaboration does make a difference, and we'll leave you with some recommendations there. Okay, what about the context? What was the course that John and I partnered on? It was an Introduction to International Business course here at Indiana University in the Kelley School of Business. We had the opportunity to collaborate in a course that had two sections back to back. So John was assigned one section, I was assigned the other section. Each section had roughly 40 students, and these students were juniors and seniors, senior level students. These are traditional full-time students. We're in a very traditional campus here, so it's a traditional full-time 4-year program. These students are highly motivated and very well prepared for an undergraduate education, but they have very little practical experience, particularly in the area of international business. However, we've determined that approximately half of the students have done a study abroad, so they've actually lived in other countries as part of their 4-year educational experience. And in this course, we used the traditional textbook. We covered 10 chapters, so we broke up the semester-length course into 10 modules. We did a combination of some lecture, and then we showed videos and other sorts of interactive exercises, and quite a bit of class discussion. Okay, John will talk more about that part. In terms of the deliverables, the students had to take 3 exams, multiple choice exams, roughly 40 to 50 questions on each exam, and then they were responsible for a written research report toward the end of the class. Okay, what was the particular problem we were addressing? So one of the aspects that we've experienced is that our students get very good theoretical training, but what happens many times is that different instructors have different levels of experience and comfort level with theoretical materials. And so what we wanted to do is to combine the theories that some of our textbooks present and that some of us are comfortable teaching, but to combine that with lots of experience for the students. As you may know, many international business topics are quite complex. So when we get into the way that culture works as a process in business behavior, when we get into the various political and economic systems that are in use in the global economy around the world right now, these types of systems tend to be complex. Exchange rates, right? How do exchange rates work? What are the type of exchange rate regimes around the world? And then how does government policy work? How does government get involved in business? How does it affect normal business transactions? And so these are complex topics that sometimes are difficult to convey. At the same time, in a highly ranked program like ours, companies expect our students today to hit the ground running and deliver results very quickly. So the students have to be prepared for this complex international business world. So the opportunity, so this being sort of the problem or the challenges that we were facing, what we decided to do is to partner and deliver deliver the content in an Intro to International Business class to our students in a joint way. That is, we partnered to deliver the material to the students jointly. And John will tell you more about the details of that, right? Always supplementing theory with real-world applications, real-world experience, and lots of examples. So who are we as the two instructors? So I am a clinical professor here at Indiana University in the Kelley School, clinical professor in international business. I have had 17 years of teaching experience, and my focus is more on the international management side. So I'm very familiar and comfortable with culture and how culture works, the managerial aspects of in international business, such as adjusting to the expatriate assignment, what it's like to work in industrialized country settings and also in emerging economies, but always sort of in that international management sort of mode. I teach at all levels. I teach in the undergraduate program. I teach in the full-time MBA program. I teach in our Kelley Direct Online program, and then quite a bit of executive education and also a little bit of consulting work. Our student audiences today are very international. For example, about 40% of our MBA students are from outside of the U.S. Our undergraduate program is a little less international, but our Kelley Direct online MBA program is very international. Students are literally dispersed all around the world. And I've had quite a bit of experience in research and in my administrative work and my teaching, had quite a bit of experience working with international managers on the front lines doing international business. So I've had an opportunity to learn from them and bring those aspects into the classroom. Okay. Now I'll turn it over to John to cover his part.
Well, I'm John Becker. I've worked with Roberto either as a guest lecturer or an advisory board member to the academy that Roberto has chaired for many years. So we've known each other for quite a while, worked together quite a bit, and are very familiar with each other's thinking. My background is an undergrad in chemistry, production management, and Russian language. I worked as a Russian linguist for the U.S. Air Force for 5 years, and then worked for Cummins Engine Company in both their finance and their international development area for 36 years before I retired. And I've been doing some consulting and teaching here at Indiana University in the Kelley School since I retired about 3.5 years ago. My particular specialties have been the development of new relationships, particularly manufacturing joint ventures in Russia, China, and other emerging economies, particularly economies that are transitioning from socialist economies to market-driven economies. I've hired and trained probably more new MBAs at Cummins than anyone else has, and had a lot of years working here at IU as guest lecturer or various advisory boards. The class that we had was was pretty typical. As Roberto said, it was there were about 40 students in each section. I had the 8 a.m. section officially, and Roberto had the 9:30 session. They were 75-minute classes each. And what we would do is one of us would deliver a class, but both of us would be present in the classroom while we were delivering the material. We divided the topics. As Roberto said, there are 10 chapters in the book. As it worked out, Roberto did 5 of them. I did 5 of them. And we divided those essentially based on our individual strengths and experience. Roberto took the more theoretically based topics, and I took the more experientially based topics. In each of the class sessions, we would work on first describing where we'd been in the class, how the particular class section that we're working on that day related to what we'd done before, and then worked on where it was going in the future as well. Our focus was particularly on the application of the material rather than memorizing material. So it was something that they could take and apply and practice once they leave the course. In practice, in the class sessions, we'd involve each other. If Roberto was leading the class, he'd get me involved in discussions of the particular topic, and vice versa. If I was leading the class, I would involve Roberto, and at times we'd really even stage arguments where Roberto would propose some theory that might be applicable to a particular situation. Come on, Roberto, this is the real world. How does that stuff really apply? Here's what I've seen out in the real world. You don't have time for all that. It's a complex situation. You can't step through all of it. And Roberto would say, slow down, John. Here's how it works. You've actually been thinking through these theories as you go through the application in the real world. And so we get this discussion going on trying to tie the theory and the application together. We'd invite the students to ask questions at any time during the discussions, and we would end every class session with a discussion of, so what? We'd literally ask that question, so what? We've talked for over an hour now about this topic. Why is it important? How are you, as future international managers, going to be able to use this material and apply it in your day-to-day activities? After we delivered these 2 class sessions for a semester, we had our normal class evaluations, plus we did an additional questionnaire to ask the students about their reaction to having these 2 professors with very different backgrounds and approaches to take a look at it and see how we did. Students' feedback on the positive side was that this was pretty neat. We had 2 professors for the price of 1. It worked out pretty well. We really enjoyed having both viewpoints, both professors there. The students said that they felt that they got many more real-world examples of application of the theories that were presented than they did in some single professor classes. And they really enjoyed the different perspectives where Roberto would talk about theory, I'd talk about the application of that in the real world, and a lot of the students really got that and enjoyed it. They also said that the disagreements that we had and the comments that we had about each other's material made the material less boring. It was something that kept some excitement going in the class periods, and they saw an advantage in being able to ask questions of both of us and get advice from us. On the other side of the feedback, some of the negative feedback that we got, although Roberto and I had really put a lot of work into standardizing the formats of our PowerPoint presentations that we use, the material was in fact different between our two styles, and our lecture style was very different. Roberto's very experienced, long time in the classroom, and here I'm pretty much a rookie going at this for the first time, and it was obvious. I learned a lot from Roberto over the course of this semester, and felt that I improved as that went along, but it still ended up being two very different styles of lecture. The students also told us that at times they really didn't know who was in charge of a class. We tried to make it clear. My 8 o'clock session, I said, look, you're evaluating me. I own this class, Roberto's helping. Roberto would do the same thing in his 9:30 session, but we still got feedback not knowing who's in charge. Roberto's the real professor here, who are you? So it caused some degree of confusion for some of the students that way. And some of the students also commented that they really preferred one of our styles over the other. Some preferred my real-world examples. Others preferred the smooth delivery of the theory that Roberto brought. So that preference they would have, I think, if I had been teaching for a longer period of time in this style, some people would have chosen to take the course from me, and some would have chosen to take the course from Roberto. And then some of the students, I'd mentioned earlier that one group really liked the conflicting perspectives and disagreements that we'd air in the class. We got feedback from another set of students saying that we don't know what's going on. Give us an answer. What's real here? What's the right answer? And they didn't get the shades of gray issue. So in you having the opportunity to try to apply some of this in the future, we have a few recommendations. First of all, we feel very strongly that the positives much outweigh the negatives of doing this. The students benefited, and certainly I think we agree that we both benefited from trying this approach. We would recommend choosing an introductory class that has multiple sessions so we can do this trade-off. I was very surprised to find how much work the lesson preparations were. I put a lot of time into that, and much more than the additional hour of time that it took to attend Roberto's sessions. So it worked out that each of us had to prepare for half of the sessions and attend all of the sessions. And the trade-off was very much worth that that split, where we'd have more class time to attend, but a huge savings on the preparatory time. We would do some more work to try to standardize the content in the PowerPoint presentations that we have. Even though the formatted structure was the same, the content was different. And I'd have to work to improve my delivery to get it more toward Roberto's capable style. One of the things that perhaps we didn't do adequately at the outset of the class that I think would help in this is that we would need to explain with greater clarity the reasons for this collaboration and what we were trying to reach as a teaching goal out of the collaboration that we had in having two professors in the classroom at the same time. I also think that Roberto and I both benefited greatly from having a long working relationship prior to trying this. And I think a willingness to share and to learn, and openness. Roberto was doing a lot of mentoring for me. It sucked up a lot of his time, I'm sure, just to get me up to speed to be reasonably capable in the classroom. And that willingness to change, to adapt to other styles is certainly much easier said than done. And so, Roberto, I really thank you for all of your mentorship and in helping me with this. I had a ball at it. So if any of you watching this are business people who aren't professional educators, give it a try. It's well worth it.
And I want to echo John's comments. I agree 100% with everything that he mentioned. I also benefited greatly from having being exposed to John's experience and to be able to collaborate with him. I would encourage any faculty member to invite somebody with as much business experience as John has and to try out this kind of collaboration. It worked very well for us, and we're very willing to help out in any way as you go on your journey. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and we would welcome any opportunities to help further. Thank you.
Thank you.